Hi everyone! I want to tell you about my new stepmom and how she kidnapped me. Sounds crazy, huh? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened. My real mom died when I was a little kid. It sucked growing up without her, but Dad did his best. He struggled to cope without Mom around, so I helped him out the best I could with chores and things. I needed him, and he needed me. We were a team. It had just been Dad and me for 10 years. As the years passed by, I could see how lonely Dad seemed, so I encouraged him to date. I even helped him set up his online dating profile and told him which pictures to use. I wanted him to find someone and be happy, which is why when a woman called Emily messaged him about their shared love of the theater, I encouraged him to message her back. She was at least 15 years younger than Dad, but from her profile, it sounded like they had loads in common. Dad came back from the date with her with the largest smile on his face. He was completely smitten with Emily. At first, I was pleased for my dad. He deserved to find love, and Emily seemed nice. She started coming around to our house a lot, and she was always chatty and gave me compliments about my clothes and makeup. Dad treated her to designer clothes and luxury trips away. He had a good job, and he was the manager of a successful business company, so he could afford to give her a taste of the high life. I did think he was spending a bit too much on her, but I put it down to him being excited about finding love again after Mom. Then, one day, they just decided to get married and had a private ceremony in the same week. But he'd only known her for 3 months. Emily moved in with us right away after the wedding. She also became a lady of leisure. She gave up her job in a beauty salon and spent all of her free time meeting her friends for brunch and spending Dad's money on designer outfits. Sometimes her friend Demi came around to our house, but other than that, Emily didn't seem to have any family at all. Over the next year, I started to suspect that Emily wasn't all that she seemed. One time, I walked into the living room and she was in a heated conversation on her phone. When she saw me, she immediately ended the call. This didn't seem right to me, but I didn't say anything. Another time, I was making pancakes in the kitchen when Emily stormed in and screamed at me to stay out of her handbag. I'd never seen her so angry before, but it was like she'd turned into a different person. I told her that I hadn't touched her handbag. She called me a liar, then told me that I was a vile brat. After that, I knew that Emily was definitely hiding something, so I began to investigate. I paid the kid from next door to knock on our door and run off. While Emily was answering it, I quickly looked at her unlocked laptop. She was looking up seriously expensive houses to buy in Russia. This was odd. Why would she want to move to Russia? I knew that I needed more evidence before I told Dad that this new wife was a gold digger, as he was too blinded by love to see the truth. The problem was that Emily was smart. She knew I was onto her. One day, while I was in my bedroom, I went to open my door, but it wouldn't budge. That's when I realized that Emily had locked me inside. Luckily, Dad arrived home early from work. But he couldn't find the key, so ended up kicking the door down to get me out. I told him that it was Emily who had locked me up, but he refused to believe me and made out that it must have been a dodgy locking system. It was so frustrating. Where had my clever dad gone? On the plus side, my door was broken, so Emily couldn't lock me in anymore. So I once followed her to the cafe where she was meeting Demi. They were sitting outside, so it was easy to hide behind the wall and listen in. "When are you going to give me the money you promised me?" Demi sounded agitated. "Soon," Emily said back. "I need to take care of things first." I'd heard enough. Emily was definitely up to something bad. I decided to go home and wait for Emily to appear to confront her. I told her I was going to tell Dad and the police. At first, she ignored me. Then, the next thing I knew, she'd stabbed something into my arm. I looked down to see a syringe in her hand. Then, I blacked out. I woke up tied to a chair with tape over my mouth. I was in some dark, damp warehouse type of place. It was cold and creepy. I was terrified. I tried to free myself, but I couldn't. Emily appeared, ripped the tape off of my mouth, held a phone to my ear, and instructed me to talk or die. My dad was on the other end of the phone. I cried out and told him what had happened. "Give me $1 million in the next 10 minutes or your daughter will die," she shouted into the phone, then hung up. I begged her to let me go. She told me to shut up and said it had been bad enough having to endure my whining for over a year. Then she put fresh tape back over my mouth. The next thing I heard were police sirens. Then the police stormed into the warehouse and arrested Emily. They untied me and took me to the station where my dad was waiting for me. I was so relieved to see him. Turns out, my dad had secretly put a GPS locator on my phone. After my mom passed away due to a car accident, I was the only thing that he had left, and he promised to protect me and never let anything bad happen to me. I didn't know when he had installed the GPS, but thank God he did. We also found out that Emily was actually called Isabella. She'd already conned another man, then she'd moved states. Her lavish lifestyle was costly, so she'd soon run out of money. That's when she met my dad. She was given a life sentence in jail, as she was also charged with conning the other man too, alongside kidnapping and threatening to kill me, and for blackmailing my dad. Dad felt bad for not believing me before. I'm not mad at him. It wasn't his fault. He loved Emily, and he thought she loved him too. Now, it's just me and my dad again. I think it's safe to say he won't be dating again for a while. I'm still struggling to deal with what happened to me. I wake up every few nights in hot sweats, convinced Emily will reappear and kidnap me again. But luckily, it's all just a dream, and she now can never harm us again. I'm grateful that Dad's okay, and so am I.